मेरे साथ नोबेल प्राइज विजेता अर्थशास्त्री पॉल रोमर हैं. Welcome to NDTV.
Thank you.
First question, of course, is why do you think India remains the fastest growing economy in the world?
I think it's the same reason that it's succeeded in tech, is that it's got effective government leadership, and many countries don't right now.
So it is Prime Minister Narendra Modi's leadership, which is the inspiration behind.
I think there's a couple of dimensions to it. One is that the particular individual matters, and maybe the party of that individual, but it's also the strength of government is a characteristic that carries over from one government to the next. So it isn't just the individuals passing through, but it's also, does the institution of government have legitimacy in the eyes of the public?
So you're saying continuity of policy making.
Continuity and but also legitimacy. And if the government delivers, if it does good things and people can see those good things, then it has more legitimacy. And if it has more legitimacy, it's got more freedom of maneuver. So India has a track record right now of substantial success in delivering benefits to all parts of society through this digital program. That gives it the credibility to now go do some other things, like my other suggestion, which is build more urban area.
More urban area.
Yeah.
So what is the next big challenge now? I mean, India now will be the third largest economy in within 3 years. That's the estimation.
Right.
But what is the future ahead now for Indian economy? What is the next big thing you see for Indian economy?
I think I've already sort of telegraphed that, which is that successful urbanization is a critical part of the transition from the traditional economy to the modern economy. Almost all of the value produced, almost all the GDP is produced in large cities. And these have to be large cities that are well enough organized that the trash gets picked up, everybody can get to and from work, the water is safe. And so it's difficult to run a large, successful modern city. But India needs many, many more, because lots of people don't yet live in a city that gives them full access to the modern economy. So India needs to both increase the size of its existing cities, make room for more people to come in, but it also, I think, to keep up, it should think about starting some new cities too.
So you're saying something very important. What you're saying is, if you want to further develop India's economy, then you have to develop your cities.
Absolutely.
Because they are the growth engines of future growth that India aspires for.
Yep, the success story to try and emulate is that of Shenzhen in China. Shenzhen was one of the 4 initial special economic zones, and it went from essentially nothing to a city of about 10 million and just a powerhouse of technology, because it attracted people from all over China and quickly became the technology hub for the country. So India could do that same kind of thing. And what's so good about doing that is that you create opportunity for people who right now feel like they're being left behind.
Right. So this is the idea. Cabinet actually recently approved 12 industrial nodes.
Yep.
They were called 12 smart industrial cities.
Yep.
So this is the idea closer to the Shenzhen experience?
Yeah, but you have to think about how do we make room for 10 million new people to come live in a city? This is a huge challenge. You can't just say, well, we'll call something that already exists a zone. It's like, no, how are you going to build housing units for 10 million new people? So you need to take the scale of this challenge seriously. But then once you take it seriously, you realize that the resources to do it can all be paid for, but it takes some organization to get it going.
So last question to you.
Okay.
So if India now has to focus on building up cities, so what you're suggesting is further reforming the way urban areas are now managed in India, or you're saying new cities has to be created on the lines of Shenzhen?
I think that one of the great strengths in India is that you can have very intense competition between different cities. If there were a new Shenzhen, in effect, where many bright people would want to go, other cities would start to improve because they don't want to lose. And so the competition from a new entrant would mean that all the existing cities have to do a better job. of attracting people to come and work there. So the way I would say it is you need to have a competitive market between your cities here in India, and that will then encourage them to reform and improve on their own.
Right. And one last question, you've been speaking about India's digital infrastructure.
Yep.
How that has actually transformed the economy at a larger level?
Oh, well, I think the real thing to remember is that the goal here is not to transform the economy, it's to improve people's lives. And what you should be asking about the digital infrastructure is how has it improved the quality of life for somebody who before couldn't get their benefits because some intermediary took them, or they couldn't move to a new place where they have a job because they wouldn't be able to get their benefits in the new place, or all of the kinds of ways in which life is better now. It's more predictable. People are less vulnerable because of the digital. So it isn't just something we capture in dollars and GDP. It's a deeper measure of success in terms of confidence and security and freedom, so that people are free to try new things.
The idea of making India a developed country by 2047 is the larger target that Prime Minister Modi has set. First is, how do you see his vision of India as a developed country by 2047? And do you think India has the potential to actually come at par with China or go beyond China's economy?
I think almost any question where you ask, we have the potential, the answer is yes. So just think about, 15 years ago, people would have said, could we really come up with a state-of-the-art digital infrastructure? Oh no, we could never do it. We're a backward country, but you did it. So countries can do much more than they think. When Deng Xiaoping started to reform, nobody thought China could grow rapidly. So this is my message ever since I first started reporting and studying about technology, is that what's possible is much bigger and much more optimistic than most people think. But what's difficult is to get people organized to pursue it in a coordinated way.
But India has the potential to grow as big as China's economy.
Absolutely. And bigger. There's no
bigger than China?
Totally, yes, absolutely.
But then you have to take all these new reformist measures to further strengthen
reform sounds sort of like a school teacher who comes in and then hits you with a ruler and punishes you. I mean, that's not the way I think of reform. I think of reform as like a city tries to do things better because it wants to attract more people, it wants to win. And then companies compete to do a better job. And so you want to unleash the power of competition. Not punish people and send them to the corner for being bad, which is the way reform is usually presented. But you do need to figure out a way to get people to think big. And so a new neighborhood of 100,000 people, that's just not big enough. Think about replicating Shenzhen. You got to think big. But sometimes all we lack is imagination. If we have the imagination, we can do much more than we think.
Thank you very much, sir, for talking to NDTV. Thank you very much. दिल्ली से सुशील राठी के साथ हिमांशु शेखर, NDTV इंडिया.